In 2009, the world witnessed one of the most extraordinary moments in modern television history. A quiet, unassuming woman from a small Scottish village walked onto the stage of Britain's Got Talent, nervously clutching a microphone and smiling shyly at the skeptical judges. Her name was Susan Boyle. Within seconds of her performance, everything changed. The song she sang, I Dreamed a Dream from Les Miserables, did more than just impress an audience. It shattered preconceptions, silenced laughter, and made millions around the world believe in the power of raw, undiscovered talent. But behind that viral moment, behind the angelic voice that moved the world to tears, there is a story that is both inspiring and heartbreaking. For years, fans have asked the same question: what really happened to Susan Boyle? Now the truth is finally revealed. Before her rise to fame, Susan Boyle lived a simple, quiet life in the small town of Blackburn, West Lothian, Scotland. Born in 1961 as the youngest of 9 children, she grew up in a working-class family where money was tight, but music and faith were abundant. Her mother, Bridget, was a devoted Catholic and an amateur singer who encouraged Susan to sing at church and in local choirs. From a young age, Susan's voice stood out. Neighbors remember her singing through open windows, her voice echoing through the small streets of her hometown. Yet life was not easy for her. She was born with complications during birth that deprived her of oxygen, leading to developmental challenges that affected her learning abilities. For years, she struggled in school, often bullied by classmates who called her names and mocked her dreams. Still, she held onto her love of music as her refuge. As she grew older, Susan never gave up on her dream of becoming a singer, but reality weighed heavily on her. She took odd jobs, worked as a cook and a church volunteer, and lived with her aging mother in their modest family home. She recorded small demo tapes and even auditioned for other talent shows, but none brought her success. Her mother's unwavering belief kept her going. Bridget Boyle would often tell her daughter, "You have a gift, and the world will hear it one day." Susan promised her mother she would try one more time. In 2007, when Bridget passed away, Susan was devastated. She stopped singing for months, feeling as though her purpose had vanished with her mother's death. Yet, 2 years later, she made a decision that would change everything. When Susan walked onto the Britain's Got Talent stage in April 2009, she was 47 years old. Her appearance, frizzy hair, plain dress, and shy demeanor made the audience chuckle. Judges Simon Cowell, Piers Morgan, and Amanda Holden looked skeptical. But when she began to sing, the world fell silent. The purity and strength of her voice stunned everyone in the room. Within hours, the video of her performance went viral, amassing tens of millions of views online. Overnight, Susan Boyle became a global sensation. The media couldn't get enough of her. She appeared on talk shows, gave interviews to international outlets, and became the face of inspiration for people everywhere who believed they were too old or too ordinary to chase their dreams. But as quickly as fame came, it brought challenges that Susan was not prepared for. The sudden exposure overwhelmed her. Reporters camped outside her house, paparazzi followed her every move, and headlines dissected her personal life. She had gone from complete anonymity to worldwide fame in just a few days. The pressure and the intrusion took a toll on her mental health. After the Britain's Got Talent finale, where she came in second place, Susan was hospitalized for exhaustion and stress. It was clear that while her voice was strong, her sudden entry into fame had left her emotionally vulnerable. The very thing she had dreamed of for so long had arrived, but it came with a price she never expected to pay. Still, Susan's spirit and faith helped her recover. Just months after leaving the hospital, she released her debut album, I Dreamed a Dream, which became one of the fastest-selling albums in UK history and topped charts in multiple countries. It sold over 9 million copies in its first year. The shy woman from Blackburn had become a superstar. She performed for the Pope, sang for Queen Elizabeth II, and appeared on some of the biggest stages in the world. Yet despite the glamour and applause, she remained the same person inside. A woman who missed her mother, preferred quiet evenings at home, and never quite felt comfortable with celebrity life. She bought her family home instead of moving into a mansion, choosing to live among the same people who knew her before fame. In interviews over the years, Susan often spoke candidly about the challenges of fame. She described feeling lonely at times, even amid her success. "I still live in the same house," she once said, "because it's home. It's where my memories are. It's where I feel safe." Beneath the global adoration was a person still learning to navigate a world that had suddenly thrust her into the spotlight. Fame brought wealth and opportunity, but it also brought scrutiny, isolation, and pressure. The entertainment industry can be unforgiving, especially for someone like Susan, who was never trained for its demands. As the years passed, Susan released several more albums: The Gift in 2010, Someone to Watch Over Me in 2011, and Standing Ovation in 2012, all of which performed well. However, the intensity of her early fame began to fade. For Susan, that was a blessing. She found peace in slower rhythms, touring occasionally but spending most of her time at home. Then, in 2013, she made a deeply personal revelation that helped explain many of her lifelong struggles. Doctors had reevaluated her childhood diagnosis and confirmed that she was on the autism spectrum, specifically with Asperger's syndrome. For Susan, this was a moment of clarity. "I now have a clearer understanding of who I am," she said. "I know why I struggled with certain things. It's not my fault." The diagnosis helped her embrace herself more fully and allowed the world to see her not just as a singer, but as a survivor of misunderstanding and resilience. For a while, Susan lived quietly, occasionally appearing on television and performing at special events. She remained deeply connected to her faith and community, often volunteering at her local church. She once joked that fame hadn't changed her shopping habits. She still went to the same local stores and loved fish and chips on Fridays. Yet even as she settled into a peaceful routine, she faced new health challenges. She was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which she managed carefully through diet and lifestyle changes. Despite her medical struggles, Susan remained upbeat, calling each challenge a test from God and saying she was grateful just to keep singing. Then in 2022, life delivered another devastating blow. Susan suffered a stroke that affected her speech and her ability to sing. For someone whose entire identity revolved around her voice, it was a terrifying experience. She later revealed that doctors warned her recovery could take years and that she might never sing again. For months, she disappeared from the public eye, focusing on rehabilitation. She underwent speech therapy and vocal exercises, determined to regain the gift that had defined her life. "It was the hardest thing I've ever faced," she said, "but I wasn't going to give up. Singing is who I am." Her determination paid off. In 2023, Susan made a triumphant return to Britain's Got Talent, the very stage where it had all begun. When she appeared on the show's finale, fans were stunned. She performed once again with poise and grace, and when the hosts asked how it felt to be back, she revealed the truth. She had suffered a stroke the previous year. The audience gasped. Her voice trembled slightly as she said, "I fought hard to be here. It took everything I had to get back." The crowd rose to its feet in thunderous applause. It was more than a comeback. It was a moment of redemption. The woman who had once shocked the world with her talent was now inspiring it again with her resilience. Since then, Susan Boyle has slowly rebuilt her career, this time on her own terms. She has returned to the recording studio, begun working on new music, and hinted at future projects, including a documentary about her life. In early 2025, she made headlines again when she posted a video on social media celebrating her birthday, saying with a bright smile, "I am back, definitely back." Fans around the world rejoiced. It wasn't just about hearing her sing again. It was about seeing her spirit unbroken after everything she had endured. Her comeback isn't about chasing fame anymore. It's about gratitude, healing, and the simple joy of doing what she loves most, singing. The truth about what really happened to Susan Boyle is that she lived through both sides of fame, the glory and the pain. She went from being a symbol of hope to a person fighting battles most never saw. Her story is one of perseverance against extraordinary odds. She faced ridicule, health challenges, and loneliness, yet she never let those things silence her voice. The woman who once stunned the world with a song has shown that her true strength lies not only in her music, but in her courage to keep going when everything seemed lost. Today, Susan Boyle continues to live in the same modest home in Scotland, surrounded by the familiar comforts of the life she once knew. She often says that fame is fleeting, but kindness lasts forever. She still attends church, still shops locally, and still waves to fans who visit her small town. Her wealth and status never changed her values. She remains the same humble, faith-filled woman who believes her success was part of a greater plan. And though she no longer dominates headlines as she once did, her story continues to inspire millions around the world who see in her the proof that dreams, no matter how delayed, are never truly out of reach. Susan Boyle's life reminds us that success is not just about what we achieve, but about who we become along the way. She dreamed a dream and lived it with all its joy and sorrow. She faced the worst moments of her life in front of the entire world and came out stronger. The woman who once made us believe in miracles has become one herself. And now, as she prepares for her next chapter, one thing is certain. Susan Boyle's voice, both literal and symbolic, will never truly fade. It lives on in her songs, her story, and the hearts of everyone who ever dared to dream, just like she did.